Moge Da Munda ni millo Moge Da Munda Koor koor vekhe jeda thoki da hunda Bebe kendi hundi ave rahm kari Bapu kenda kade na tu vahm kari.
Hey Jess, big welcome to Panjab Radio.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And we are going to talk about Moge Da Munda, which is your debut EP.
Yes, ma'am.
But before we talk about that, so मैं सोचा भी ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣ ਪਛਾਣ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ.
Okay.
So ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੇ Jess Loco. I mean, I know that's not your real name. ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਅਸਲੀ ਨਾਮ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ. And ਅਸਲੀ ਨਾਮ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹ secret ਆ.
I mean, I'm not hiding it, but right time the right moment te pata lag jua.
Jess Loco, ਇਹ ਨਾ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ because loco in Spanish, I might be wrong, but loco in Spanish means pagal. So why have you chosen to call yourself pagal?
It's actually a long story that goes back to my childhood. I was born and raised in I was born in Dubai, and then I lived in India in Moga for 5 years of my childhood. So I got the desiness out of there, and then when I came to the States, my family was already here, so I immigrated here afterwards. And we ended up here in Detroit, of all places, in Michigan. And Detroit is it's a very rough place, I guess, best way you could put it. And in my whole school, I was the only Punjabi, let alone be an Indian.
Oh, okay.
So most of my friends and anybody I know, they went to school where there were at least other Indians there or other Punjabis they could interact with. I think I had one or two other ones, and I think one of those were my siblings. So, you know, and so I was always an outcast, but it was a culture that I was brought into. I was brought into like the Mexican Spanish culture. So we look Spanish as Indians. We look Arabic. It depends where you are. You blend right in, you know?
Yeah.
And so in the Spanish industry, they kind of accepted me. And I just got this nickname in high school because I was just having fun. I was just living life. And they were like, "You're local." And I'm like, I'm just living life.
Yeah.
And then, so initially the name was that in high school. And then I tried to do music in 2012. I started writing, I started learning on my own, and it just wasn't meant to be. So it never worked out. But I kept learning and learning and learning. And then when I decided to actually come out as a brand for myself, initial name that if you look at my old channel is Jess Sran. Sran is my last name.
Oh, okay.
And but it was like I realized that it was more of a marketing structure for me, right? And it was like, okay, if I said Jess Sran, I'm sorry, but personally I would not click on that. But if it says Jess Loco or Loco Tera Yao, so now you got Punjabi and Loco in it, it's like from a marketing structure for me, it was like, okay, I would want to wonder and click on that. But more importantly, the reason, the why behind it was I'm not loco anymore like I was in high school. You know, I grew up, I went through life, all the things I did back then, I would never, ever, ever suggest anyone to do. But so now I was like, okay, let's give loco a new definition, because now it's like, okay, we've learned life lessons and we've been through life. So what we thought back then as like 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds does not matter when you're 30 or, you know, when you're married or you're about to be adult or you are adult, whatever. I mean, I still say I'm a kid at heart. When people call me though, he's an adult, I'm like, who you talking to? I'm a baby. Excuse me. Because I believe in, like, even when I'm 60, 70, you're going to see me with toys and you're going to see me having fun, because I believe that if you're young at heart, your body follows, you know? So, and that's something like I always believed in. And so now loco comes down to, okay, whatever you believe, whatever you want to do in your life, you have to be loco about it. Otherwise, it will not happen. You know what I mean? Whatever dream you have, whether it be to be the biggest, you know, host, you can imagine that. But until you're crazy about it, I'm sorry, but it's not gonna happen. Until people call you crazy. Until people look at you and they're like, he's on something. I don't know, he's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you know me, then you know I'm not on something. I know what I'm talking about because I'm headed on a mission.
Yeah.
That's what I can put it. Everything has a plan. Everything has a structure to it. And hopefully it all comes together and you guys see what the plan is. So
Yeah. And talking about your beginnings in music, so music ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਹੋਈ?
music ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋਈ ਆ when I was like 4 or 5, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Since I was a kid, I was always like the joker of the family because I'm the baby. So, you know, I always had the freedom and I always acted crazy. And I was an entertainer.
Mhm.
You know, I loved making people laugh. And like, I was the one where, like, you know how in our culture, it's like, Oi, uncle aaya, Jesse, aage bhangra karke dikha.
Yeah.
I was the one my dad called. He was like, nach ke dikha. I was like, oi, oi, oi. So it actually all started with bhangra.
Mhm.
Bhangra was my passion. And I did bhangra till I was like 16, 15. And then from rhythm, started DJing when I was like 11 years old.
Mhm.
So from the rhythm and the music love of it, I picked up Dole. So I started playing Dole, and I've traveled the world for Dole, that, you know, doing tours and shows. And then Mickey Singh, who is one of my brothers, I started writing for him on the back end.
Mhm.
And so we would all just collab together, you know, just sit in a room, and I'm learning off of him, and I'm surrounded by all these talented people. And I realized, I was like, you know what? I think I kind of want to do this.
Mhm.
So here's the crazy part. In 2008, I tried to record a song,
Mhm.
but I have something called like mic fright and stage fright, or I did.
Mhm.
So I got in front of the booth and mic. I'm a bathroom singer since day one.
Okay.
So in the bathroom, ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੇਕਾਂ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਮਾਣਕ ਵਾਂਗੂ, like ਵੱਟ ਕੱਢ ਦਾਂਗੇ. But when the mic comes in front of me, I look at the mic, I'm like, uh, uh. So this was 2008, and after that I gave up. I was like, you know what, this is not for me, because everybody around me would just get in front of the mic and be like, and I'm like, so I got really nervous and I gave up.
Yeah.
I listened to the noise around me, and in 2019 I went through a life-changing experience. I got in a very bad accident, and I was disabled in a wheelchair for 3 years, and I felt like I was the most active person, and being stuck in a wheelchair, it was the most painful thing I ever had to do. So then I was like, okay, you know what? If I'm gonna come out of this, I'm gonna come stronger. So what's one thing I've been really afraid to do? I was singing. So I was like, you know what? That's exactly what we're gonna do today. So I recorded my first song, and it kind of gave me confidence. And this was 2018, where I actually finally got it down.
Mhm.
And then since then I've been practicing, just, you know, trying to grow as what I want to actually even showcase. So everything you see, like even Moge Da Munda, was actually made in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so ਜਦੋਂ ਨਿੱਕੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ? Because you obviously you've not lived in one place. You've been India ਵੀ ਰਹੇ, Dubai ਵੀ ਰਹੇ ਆ, Detroit, like ਹਰ ਪਾਸੇ ਘੁੰਮਦੇ ਰਹੇ. Did you also have like kind of an identity crisis? Like I think a lot of us have gone through that. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਉੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਆ.
No, it was actually very difficult. ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਵਾਂ ਆਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਤੋਂ ਡਿਟਰੋਇਟ ਸੀ, ਕੋਈ ਦੇਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਨੇੜੇ, ਉੱਤੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਏਡਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਜੂੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, like my hair came down to my knees, like I had a very fat juda. So I was beyond the outcast. Like outcast is understatement, you know.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. But when I go back to, I think when I was in Dubai, I didn't listen to any, you know, it was like 1 through 5, so I didn't remember much, you know, at least music, but I remember everything vividly, like memories. But then when I came to India, I feel like when I came to India, I got like a different level of freedom. You know what I mean? Like India, inni mauja, koi tension nahi kisi nu. Even though I was only 6 to 10, like I was there from like 5 to 10, 6 to 10, like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But those 4 or 5 years, I lived my life, I feel like more freely than I do now. Because my mom trusted me. Like, ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਈਕਲ ਦੀ ਮੌਜ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਸਾਈਕਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਬਾਜ਼ਾਰ ਚ ਗੇੜੇ ਲਾਉਣੇ. You know what I mean? Like, here, It's like a 15-year-old kid says, I'm gonna take my cycle and go to the store. Parents are like, do not go outside. Da da da. Stay on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
My mom didn't even know where I was till 12 o'clock at night. But that's what like the foundation is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes down to music, that's when I found my true purpose and like true like idols for music.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up so it's crazy. I've had phases,
Mm-hmm.
because I go from different culture to culture.
Yeah.
I've had phases. The first cassette I ever bought in my life
Mm-hmm.
was Tu Meri Miss India by Babu Man.
Yeah, we remember that one.
And till this day, I'll be honest with you, is my favorite.
What's your favorite song from that one?
Look, gonna be I love that song. Like,
Yeah.
because the thing is, that song was way ahead of its time, if you think about it. He's talking about, I don't even know what they're saying in English, but it was dope. We don't know what is the sharata. I don't even know what he said, but it was dope back then. You know what I mean? It was ahead of his time. So, like, I would say, like, my biggest idol is Babu Man. And it's crazy because when you listen to my music, you're like, are you lost? But it might make sense in a couple of years, when you look at everything all together.
Yeah.
But my biggest ustad, I would say, who I idolize is Babu Man. And that might be random. And then second is Manmohan Waris. I love him with all my heart. I think all three brothers are so amazing, but Manmohan Waris is like he's I must take to him. And then I came here and like I didn't even here's the messed up part is I didn't even know English when I came here.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. So then I was like, okay, how do I teach myself English? So I Googled, they said watch movies and listen to music. So I took a whole summer off and I literally just watched every single cartoon show, every movie. I didn't understand them, but I watched with subtitles. And by the time I ended up back in school after that summer break, I knew English. So it worked, whatever trick it was. But in that time, I found American like hip hop music because my surroundings I started DJing when I was 11. So I was doing house parties in Detroit and I was doing high school dances. I did prom in 9th grade. I did the Sadie's dances. So like we just like started getting into that. And then I'm like, okay, wait, this music is different. So back in the day, I don't know if you know, there was a group called Franchise Boys. Lean with it, rock with it, lead. So it's like a 2000s classic, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, I was like, okay, what are you talking about? There's such a vibe. And I had no idea what they were saying. Lean with it, rock with it. I'm like, pata nahi ki gayi ande, huh? But it's such a vibe. Like, imagine if it was a Punjabi song like this. That would be dope.
Yeah.
So then I started imagining this since I was a little kid. I'm like, okay, how could we put the Western music into a vibe, but do it the real authentic way? Right. So that was my goal. And then I found Wheezy, Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
And that changed my life, I think. And so like my biggest idol when it comes to music is Babu Man, Lil Wayne. And I know it's like people might think like, what? It's so random. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
But it's really not, because if you put the two and two together, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about Moge Da Munda.
Okay.
You've done tracks like, Feels Like and Missing Me with like Mickey Singh. And oh thode je like Britasian vibe, they're quite different. Moge Da Munda completely different. Oh Thet Punjabi hai. Eh hamesha to plan si, or you just kind of like went with that?
It's both. It was planned, but then it was also more like, okay, no, we need to stick to the simplest. Because even though these songs are desi, what's coming next is gonna be everywhere. So Feels Like and Missing Me were something me and Mickey were just vibing out on, and we were like, let's make something happy. Let's make something positive. That's how Feels Like came around. And then Missing Me was, I was going through something and I woke up late night and I just wrote poetry, and then I was like, showed it to Mickey, and Mickey just Mickey materialized everything. All those tunes, everything I'm speaking is all Mickey. I just followed him, 100%. But I wrote it all and I was like, yo, this is what I feel. And he's like, and he put it into words and I'm like, oh, amazing. But that feels like was made in January of this year. Before that, there was no plan of me even doing music. So it was like, hey, I think we should do it. And then it was like, okay, let's get in the studio. Within overnight, we made that song. But the night before that, there was no plan of Jess Loco even existing. It happened overnight. But I was having fun and I've been making music for years. And one of the first songs that I made as a full project, Yaar Tera Billo, that came out like a couple weeks ago. And I can't say the artist's name, but let's just say he's part of a group and he's one of the hottest Punjabi artists in the world right now. And so that song was made as a collaboration between me and him because I was in Canada and we caught a vibe. But then COVID happened. So I couldn't go and make it happen. And then life happened and then so blew up. And then it was like, okay, cool. I don't even feel right doing this song anymore because it doesn't make sense. So then Yaar Tera Billo was my first single because it was like, that was my foundation. Moge Da Munda, actual song, the meaning behind it and how it came around was, so my dad was a taxi driver in Detroit, but taxi drivers don't speak, like they don't call you by their name. They call you either by the taxi number or the city you're from. So my dad was known as Moga in Detroit. We're like, Moga aa gaya, And unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2006. And since then, everywhere me and my brother go, they don't even know my name. They don't know that my name is Jess. They're like, Moge Da Munda, Moge Da Vadda Munda, Moge Da Munda, Moge Da Vadda Munda. So that's why the whole poster is my dad, because the whole energy behind it was him supporting me and him being my angel and supporting me. And I truly believe that was my first project. A lot more coming. But the meaning behind it is that.
It's kind of like a sweet little tribute to him, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, I wanted to start my career off as an individual artist that way. And then now we're going to have fun.
I mean, Moge Da Munda is a fun song anyways.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And when making Moge Da Munda, so what was your kind of like creative process? Like, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ lyrics ਲਿਖਦੇ ਹੋ, music ਵੱਲ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ? Like, how does it work for you?
Most of the times I will find a topic and then I zone out. I meditate a lot, so I like to just put on headphones and zone out. My boy Dil Raj, who's the producer on the whole album, he's working on the beat. So we figure out the melody and we figure out this is the topic. This is where we're headed with this. What's our inspiration? Every single song has inspiration one way or another. It might be one song, it might be 10 songs. But it's all put together into one. So it's like, okay, you do this, and I put on my headphones and I kind of just write poetry. I just write notes and talk. And then I come back and be like, okay, let's figure out how we can put this into a melody, what I've written down. And then it always starts with the lyrics first. And then we catch a vibe from there.
From the EP, what is your favorite song?
Good Life.
Good Life.
100%. Even though my favorite song was always Moge Da Munda, even though it has a bigger meaning behind it, Good Life wasn't even a plan of the EP till like 2 days before I dropped it. But it was just a gut feeling. Something in my intuition said, no, this song should be on here. Because it's such a happy vibe. And it's like, I wanted to put out positive vibes on top of the confident vibes,
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just put a little spark of it. And I'll be honest with you, I feel like I've been getting a lot of love on everything, but Good Life is just like, yo, I love that song. I love it.
Do you have a favorite lyric from like that song specifically?
Good Life?
Yep.
Yeah.
What is your favorite lyric?
It's like the first part of the hook. It goes, Jithe munda jave oh kare ball out. Jithe munda jave oh jave all out. ਕਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਫਿਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿੰਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਕਦੇ ਘੇਰ ਨਾ ਫੀਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਫੇਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਨੱਡੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਮੂਰੇ ਢੇਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਾਪੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਜਿੰਦ ਜਾਣ ਤੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਕਮਾ ਦੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਥਾਂ ਤੂੰ It was just like, hey, we made it.
What is your favorite thing about Moge?
The shopping. I don't even need to think about it. Anybody who's ever been to Moge and a shop there, either you go to Ludhiana or you go to Moge. Okay. And they're all in the Malwa district, so let's go.
You're repping the Malvi Ali right now.
I got to. Yo, Duwabe Ale, you know, and Majje Ale are doing all this, so excuse me, ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਇੰਨੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਏ.
ਆਪਾਂ ਮਾੜੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ. But ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਮੋਗੇ ਦੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਈਡੈਂਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, how would you identify one?
I would say people who are confident, people who carry themselves with class, people who don't take a no for an answer. They go after what they want, but it's like that foundation where we come back from is so much stronger that it's imprinted in here. At least that's what I got out of the 5 years I lived here. That's what I feel.
Okay. And so Moge Da Munda aa gaya. Now we've talked about some of your future projects, that there's going to be lots coming in the future. Can you like tell us something? Yeah, sara kuch top secret hai.
No. There's no secrets here. I'll give you a little sprinkles. Okay. Okay, this is kind of a touchy subject. I'm sorry. My project was supposed to drop in the next 3 days, and it's with Jay Truck. He's a legendary producer.
Yeah.
He did a lot of the like, you know, Don't Look and everything for Karan Aujla.
Yeah.
So me and him have I personally think it's one of my favorite tracks. It's very out the box. But this is what I posted like a day or two ago on my story. I had a full project that I thought I was getting worked on, and I messed up, and I sent them the full payment.
Yeah.
And they just blocked me and took my money, and here I am. So, but you know what? God works in mysterious ways. So he messed me up. I ended up shooting a better music video overnight, and so as soon as I get that video edited, and as soon as I get that audio fixed up, it will be out this month. It's going to be out before the end of the 30th. That is guaranteed because I promise at least one song every month. So that will happen. And then next month, we have another EP coming out. And that one's going to have a few random artists.
Yeah.
Like I'll say the names. G Sidhu. He's one of my favorite. So he finally gave me the chance to collaborate with him. Astada Mira. So we're gonna have something coming out. Akal Inder, who did Jet Mafia.
Yep.
We're gonna have something coming out very soon. I am launching my own record label. So I'll be launching a few artists. Dalraj, my producer, is actually one of the nicest singers I've ever heard. So I want to launch him. So he'll be coming out with some stuff with me. All these are going to be collabs. And then merchandise is coming by December 31st. First podcast is coming by December 31st. I mean, it's a storm coming. When I say it's a storm coming, I can't understate that.
Thank you so much for joining me as well.
I appreciate it.
And wishing you the absolute best with everything else that you've got coming out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
ਬੇਬੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੇ ਰਹਿਮ ਕਰੀ ਬਾਪੂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਦੇ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਵਹਿਮ ਕਰੀ ਮੋਗੇ ਦਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲੋ ਮੋਗੇ ਦਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਦੂਰ ਦੂਰ ਵੇਖੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟੋਕੀ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬੇਬੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੇ ਰਹਿਮ ਕਰੀ ਬਾਪੂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਦੇ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਵਹਿਮ